Hey, my creative friends. I'm Shannon from Shannon Studio, and I am here to talk creativity with you and our creative lifestyles. And today is Sunday, so usually I do something spiritual and creativity, kind of tie those two together. And so tonight, we're going to talk about religious art. And I follow tons of artists, creative people. I don't know, my Instagram, hey Trisha, my Instagram it's just so inspiring to me. I don't follow people because they follow me. Sometimes I don't even follow family members. Sometimes, I just don't follow people unless something about what they're doing sparks some interest in me, and I just go through it, and it's just beautiful, just this creative flow. So anyways, one of the people I follow is J. Kirk Richards. He's a fine artist. I think he also does like music, and he kind of has several little creative veins that he goes through. Getting closer to Christmas, Trisha. You're probably all done. I think I am all done too. Well, sort of, except for my online stuff to my other family. Anyways, okay, so I've been following J. Kirk Richards for a long time, and he has been doing this painting that's it's pretty huge. So I would guess it's like 6 feet by 10 feet, 11 feet, maybe even longer. But usually I go look through his things. I just look at what he writes, and I don't listen. So he may have talked about his triumphal entry painting in more detail than I know, but I saw a little clip of him installing it today on his stories, installing it into someone's home. And I'm guessing it was someone's home. It looked like a home. The home had lots of artwork, and I just thought, as I was watching them put this in, I just, and you see the chairs and you see, the regular home setting. I just thought, what would that be like to see that every day? To have that a part of your normal life, almost to be like having a museum in your house. Then they had several other pieces of artwork that I saw as they carried this painting, and you could go, you just saw glimpses of their house. And just artwork like that. I remember somebody came over to our house, Owen, one time, and I had my own artwork up, and I know people have things about putting your own artwork up in your own house, but I'm just pleased that I can do it. Only artwork I have, real artwork. I mean, original, like made by hand, not a print. So I remember him walking in and just looking at it going, this is like a museum. And it, you do get a different feel when you get to see art in homes. So I was just like, what would that be like to see religious art in your home every day? And a lot of us do have some religious imagery in our homes. I'm just thinking about this one just because of the grand scale of it. And back in the day, religious art wasn't seen in homes often. It was at churches, it was in castles, it was the altar pieces. And that's what a lot of what I see in Sweden and Denmark that I've been to, where the church has, whatever church I'm in, has authorized the pieces to be made on commission. And so then they bring those pieces, and then they have them, and they're very large scale also, so that the people can see the stories and enjoy the connection and see. It's different to hear a story and then when you have some imagery to go with it. There's a Claudia Martin that says, all human societies have blended artistic expression with the practice of their religions. That's just what we do. We often make images of everyday life and those kinds of things, and even fantasy art. But she was saying religion has always played a part. We've always tied those two things together. And she made the example of in ancient Egypt, hieroglyphics in their language, a word that means art. It also serves as a word for religion in one inseparable concept. And so that is far back, as the Egyptians, but it goes further back than that. So there's art that we use to demonstrate, visualize our our feelings of our spiritual natures, of our ideas of God. So I was talking to, well, today I took a 3-hour nap, and that was glorious. And then afterwards I talked to Cassandra, Samantha, and her husband Jared. So I talked to the kids, some of the kids, and so I asked them about religious art, what they thought about it. And Samantha and Jared had just been to the Museum of Art at BYU, and so they were talking about how moving it was to see the imagery. Jared talked about the rich man. Also, I don't think they saw it there, but he was talking about that, the expression on the faces and how it makes you think when they're in that moment, like when Christ says, he says, I've done everything, and he says, sell everything that you have. And that moment where he's like, you can see expression on the face that the artist has put in there, and what are they thinking, and maybe I could, maybe I couldn't. And so it creates this inner dialogue that art will do, and it does such a different dialogue for everyone that, and it makes it personal that way. The art makes it, the imagery and the art make it personal. So they liked several of the classics because they're my kids and I've exposed them to that. So they like a lot of the classical art. But Samantha brought up how she liked a lot of the contemporary work. How like Greg Olson does, I think, one where Christ is holding a girl and it's like an up close and she's wearing contemporary clothing. And I think he's done one with a young man on a bench sitting next to him, and that there are some other, like God, Jesus in nature, and like the dark sky and the stars. So she was like bringing it to a contemporary art because she can connect with that. And I think that's the whole point of the artwork, is to be able to have that inner dialogue, to have it, you be able to connect with it. Cassie brought up one of the pieces she liked was, I believe it's James Christensen of Christ in Gethsemane, and the suffering that he was going through in Gethsemane, and the angels behind him, and it's like tealish color, and that's probably my favorite depiction of Christ suffering in Gethsemane, because of it's a more realistic approach. I don't even think it's really super realistic of how it actually happened, but it's more realistic of his suffering, and it's a great piece too. So a lot of times we have this these experiences with art, and it's happened over time. But I do think we tend to evolve our art to fit. I was reading one article that talked about Buddha was never supposed to be, he wasn't depicted ever as, except for footprints and a halo, if I'm not mistaken. But people wanted to see imagery of him. They wanted to see him and connect with him. So an imagery of Buddha developed. And so I think that's what we do in all religions, is that we start to evolve into what we think is the imagery, or what we see that might have happened. And some people think that's good, some people think that's bad. I think anything that moves you to a higher level of understanding, I think it's good. I think it has its place. Also, one of the things that I don't know how to say this word, never mind. There's a word is a word for the destructive hatred of religious art. Some people hate religious art, especially if there's a revolution or a revolt or some reform going on. They will oftentimes go in and destroy the visual imagery of a certain religion or the beliefs of the people. And I mean, it's just a destructive nature. That's part of what they do, destroy the underpinnings of people's faith and what they believe in. And so a lot of times, a lot of the visual art is lost. But one thing that I realized wasn't lost, or what one of this article was saying, was that music is often not lost. Because you can't rip that out of a person. it's something that can go through their heads and and also last a long time. Songs that I sang when I was a little girl that we would sing in the car when we traveled are still, I could sing those today, even though I haven't sung them for years. And it's just, it sits in us, the music sits in us in a different way. And those things weren't lost to people a lot of times, because that is something that was inside them. The inner dialogue about how they felt about pieces was not lost. And therefore, they would often create other works of art, and they would start anew to create the visual imagery that we come to help sustain us and to teach us. So the tip is to look at religious art, especially in this time of year, to see some of them, to pick out your favorites, and to maybe share in the comments some of your favorites. I put up on my Facebook page some of the ones that I saw in Denmark, Carl Blocken, and even his depictions are more Europeanish than what it probably happened, but they are beautiful, and he has, as I've mentioned before, maybe, that he has that ability to pick the right moment that makes you, just like Cassandra said something about one of her favorite paintings was Elizabeth at the top of the stairs with Mary at the bottom of the stairs, and Elizabeth's arms are outstretched just in this joyous expression. And it's that moment where you just feel like Mary just arrived and Elizabeth is welcoming her to her home, and yet she feels this stirring in her, and it's just this moment that is beautiful. It's beautifully depicted. And a lot of times when you make art, it's an investment of time as an artist. So you want to get it right for the place that you are at that moment. You don't want to just, unless you have a quick type art, if you're doing something that takes a little bit of time, you are very deliberate about what you choose to depict and how you choose to depict it. The moment, the feeling, the setting, the expressions, everything. So these people who have done religious art have put in thought, a great deal of thought into what they are trying to express to you and I. And it would be beneficial at this time of season to look at that and see what are they, and to take the different people in the context of the painting or the stained glass or the storytelling, and see from their perspective what the artist wants you to learn from that individual's perspective. So that's just it for tonight, talking about religious art. Share with me your art. I shared some on my Facebook page, and I'm going to share more art too. I've been to a lot of places and I have a lot of art, and I have got to put it out there. It's just fun for me to see, and I think it would be fun for you to see as well. So I'm going to be doing that more often. And so Sunday, spirituality and creativity, religious art. Remember, you have a creative heartbeat, so listen for it, and I will be back tomorrow. Bye.